Welcome, everybody, to another week of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, brought to you by GamblersWorld.net, where you'll find 10 of the finest handicappers in the country, folks. And it's there when you purchase our premium paid selections that we give you our guarantee that if you don't win, you don't make a profit on any single game, multi-game daily packages, or subscription plans of 30 days or fewer. We will credit your account back the exact amount of what you spent on that specific package. Like every Monday, and it is Monday, I am joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Doc's been around for over 53 years. Doug's been around for a little over 2 decades in our industry, just like myself. Doug, I hope your weekend was fabulous. If not, tell us what's going on.
Well, first of all, I want to give you some. Let's see, the award for the Doubting Thomas, and you were actually correct. Last week on the show on Monday, I gave out the Cleveland Browns as a play, and you didn't say you were going to take the Browns, but you brought up some doubts about it, and obviously you were dead on. Houston just did everything. Joe Flacco looked like he's ready to go back to retirement. Just demolished them from that standpoint. So yeah, a good thought on your part there. But hey, you know what? We'll picked it back up. Had a winner on Thursday here on the show, and yours is still going on, I believe. Or actually, I think mine's still going on. I'm sorry, I did not.
Both of us
Thursday.
are going on
Yeah,
because
right.
we had the Steelers and the Bills in Tampa Bay and Philly. So
yes.
If you haven't caught our video, folks, by the way, it's on archive. It's been up since last week. We have free picks in the Bills and Steelers game, as well as the Tampa Bay Bucks and Philadelphia Eagles. You can get that right on an archive at our YouTube channel, and that's the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, which reminds me, folks, if you have not subscribed to our channel, take a second to do so. You're watching this because you love sports betting. You're interested in sports betting. You're interested in hearing the knowledge we provide for you from some of the best handicappers in the country, including us too. So just hit that subscribe button. It's a black subscribe button right underneath your video box if you're watching either on your smart TV or on your mobile device. If you're on your PC, you'll see a WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That serves the same purpose as a subscribe button. Just click on that. Absolutely free, folks. No hidden agenda. No strings attached, no subscription plans. And by the way, folks, take an extra step further. This goes for not only the new subscribers, but only the people who have already subscribed, which we just topped 12,000 last week. And we appreciate each and every one of you. I could speak for everybody along that accord, but go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 6 weekly broadcasts going up right here on this channel. So there you have it, Doug. All right. Yeah. The big thing about that Houston game, and I'm not trying to put a star on my forehead because there's been times I've go out on a limb and I'm wrong too. But by the same token, I'd be lying if I thought that Houston was going to win that game by the margin they did. Now, they did score 2 defensive touchdowns, so let's not get carried away. But the big thing I brought up on Thursday, Doug, when I did my research was, and then I looked it up, and I found a site that actually told me that it was the biggest turnover margin disparity in the history of the NFL when it came to a playoff matchup. And what do I mean by that? Not necessarily turnover margin, but going into that game last week during regular season action, obviously it was the first playoff game for both teams. Houston had committed 14 turnovers all year. Cleveland, 37. That difference of 23 was the highest in terms of turnover disparity committed by both teams in a playoff matchup in NFL history. And lo and behold, it wasn't, again, Houston didn't turn the ball over again, and Cleveland turned it over twice. And, lo and behold, the 2 times they turned it over turned into defensive touchdowns. Yeah. What about what else you saw, Doug, this past weekend?
Well, here's the biggest thing for me of the 4 games we've seen thus far. Coaching. Okay, real simple. is that the teams that have the best game plans, okay, and who then execute it, okay, so the coach is doing a great job in terms of not only dissecting the opponent, but then also having his guys ready to play. Those are the teams that won the games. Okay. Now the Rams and Detroit game was basically pretty even. The only difference in the game was the ability of the Detroit to score a touchdown versus the Rams in the red zones kicking 3 field goals. Nonetheless, okay, I mean, that was the difference that I saw in every single game. Okay, that just was a distinct difference in terms of preparation, and it goes to coaching. And so for those that the maybe some more so in other sports, but you just don't roll the ball out there. Okay, especially when you get to this time of the year, it doesn't work. You have to have your guys prepared. You have to have them mentally ready, physically ready, in the works. And that's what we've seen to me so far. So it'd be interesting, on Monday night or Monday day and night, and then of course later next weekend, if that trend continues. But boy, to me, really obvious in each instance.
Yeah. I got one more question for you. How about them Cowboys? Man, your buddy Mike
I would
McCarthy.
still like to know the story of what was going on with Lamb in the first half. I mean, something was up. Okay. And I mean, they showed him, on the sidelines being talked to by Dak Prescott a couple different times, things being said on the field going on, and then coaches. I mean, it was the weirdest thing that I can remember seeing, and it just lent itself to here's what I actually thought of, Ross, and I'm not saying this was it, but just from a standpoint as to what was going on, it reminded me of the old movie Major League. And if you remember, Corbin Burnson was the third baseman, and Charlie Sheen was the pitcher, and Charlie Sheen slept with Corbin Burnson's wife. Okay, so then he found out before the game, and they wouldn't talk to each other, and Charlie Sheen had no idea what Corbin Burnson was mad about. Okay, and that's the first thing I thought of. Okay, was that. Now I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm not even in any way
go there.
anyway, anything like that. But that's what I thought of, because how their interaction was so weird. Okay.
Not only that, Doug, they seem to have such great chemistry all season long, and they just look completely off yesterday. I'll go back to the first drive for Dallas where Prescott was a little ahead of the throw, and he had that outstretched he outstretched and he barely went off his fingertips. They just seemed to be off a little bit in terms of timing the whole game. And then it seemed like as the game moved on, the CD Lamb was playing a little bit tentative in that regard. So it was
really
very
weird.
strange.
And speaking of coaching, here's something that I haven't got a good answer on yet. Okay. So they kept mentioning throughout the game, the Cowboys are playing zone defense is playing man-to-man as they have all year. Okay, what's the point of that? It's not like the Packers receivers scare people. Okay, yes, they had a very good game yesterday and stuff, but nobody's afraid of the Packers receivers. And then conversely, Packers aren't very good against the run, so the Cowboys are a passing team. So what do? They try and establish the run in the game. So I have no clue what Mike McCarthy was thinking about going into the game in terms of a game plan, but it was the wrong one, and his team was not prepared. And Matt LaFleur I'm not a big Matt LaFleur postseason guy. I've seen, many of these games, these losses, to me, kind of get pinned on him. But yesterday, 100% prepared and ready to go. Hats off to him on that one.
Yeah, not only that were they prepared and had a great game plan, but they executed to a T. Right. Their execution was flawless. I mean, Romeo Doubs, you said nobody is going to be scared of the Packers receivers. He had a monster day, a career day. Right. He had not had a 100-yard game all season long. And yesterday he went for like 152, Doug, I think.
Whatever it was,
I mean, it's a lot of things went right for the Packers, and a lot of things went uncharacteristically wrong for Dallas. And when I mention uncharacteristically wrong, the example is the chemistry that Prescott and CD Lamb had all year. and what seemed to be the opposite end of the spectrum yesterday. Their timing was just completely off, and as the game progressed, it didn't get better. It seemed to get worse. So yeah, Dak Prescott put up a lot of yards, but in garbage time, you know.
Yeah, well, the one thing that the Cowboys were consistent about, it's playoff time, and it's adios. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, just I
Yeah.
mean, I can't for the life of me figure this out, and I don't really, I mean, if Belichick, ends up going there by chance, if that's the case, I mean, maybe he can make a difference, but I don't know. It's a weird team.
I mean, the defensive game plan, I agree. They're tackling, they look like a soft team yesterday defensively,
Yeah,
which I hadn't seen all year, especially at home.
yeah,
This was a team that had won 16 straight at home, and then 48-32 isn't indicative of how lopsided that game was. That score is a lot closer than the game actually was itself. So yeah, I mean, then you go to Detroit. What an atmosphere, huh? I mean, that
yeah.
was great. Playoff atmosphere was just electric. Over there at Ford Field, and Detroit gets their first playoff win in 32 years, Doug. But boy, they were hanging on by a thread at the end. There's no doubt about that.
Well, hey, speaking of hanging on by a thread, how about anymore, Ross? Literally, okay, and this is my opinion, okay. Seemingly every pass interference play it has nothing to do with the rules. It has to do with subjective judgment that time in that moment, not later, not what happened before, just at that time. It just, because I had the Rams last night, so I was happy. But one thing, but what I didn't get was I had the Rams for over 24.5 points, and that jersey tug on Puka Nacua. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know, man. We're just seeing this.
those are
over and
obvious.
over.
You know what I mean? Those are
Yeah,
obvious. You can't miss those. Now the subjective ones, like you said, where it could, one time a guy might call it, another time it depends on. Well, I don't have a problem with those those ones on the fence, as long as you call them one way. If you're going to let them play, let them play. If you're going to
right.
call it tight the whole game. Because that's the worst thing the players, their biggest complaint, I should say, is the
Right.
lack of consistency, because you're tugging on a guy one time and it's not a call, and you're tugging on him the next time and it is a call. So, yeah, I mean, again, we can go on and on about refereeing. It's a tough
Right.
job. It really
Yeah.
is, but
Yeah.
go ahead, Doug. I didn't mean to cut
No,
you off.
I'm just, I mean, but it's just that's the whole point is consistency. It's like
Yeah.
each element is graded individually. Okay, not how And this is part of the problem, at least in my opinion, with the idea of all-star crews. Okay, because you have people that are not used to working with one another, and so I don't know. It's very odd. And I think it's doing a disservice to the sport as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like there's been more error. I don't know if it's because the game is more highly scrutinized as years go on, but this seems to be a year in which we saw a lot of refereeing controversy, as opposed to the past. And
Right.
it really, I don't recall as many situations this year that I saw, and they were clearly wrong. The league admitted they were clearly wrong. Guys got suspended in the case of Detroit and Dallas game when they botched that call on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the other part of being highly scrutinized is the fact that, as of a couple of years ago, there was only one state where you could bet legally on the NFL, and that was the state of Nevada. And now, as we all well know, not only us but the viewers out there, there's not many states that don't have legalized sports betting yet.
Yeah, just 13.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
California is
That's
one
all
of
there
them.
is now. Just 13. 37 do. Yep.
How
So
does
yeah.
California not have sports betting? It's mind-boggling.
Simple answer. The Indian tribes, and again, nothing against them, but they have so
Yeah.
much power that unless they get their cut,
Yeah.
they're not budging, and
Well,
that's
I
just the
don't.
way.
We got a high population of Indian tribes here in New York State, and it seems to work fine here. So, I'm not disagreeing with you because every state's its own separate entity, and there's. I'm not saying the tribes here are any different than the ones there, or they might be drastically different in their thought process. But I just think it's a shame when you have a state like California with the economy they have and how expensive it is to live there and everything else in second largest state in the union, whatever the case. Is it the largest state or second? I'm not a geographical whiz. It's one of the biggest, most populated states in the country, and we don't have legalized sports betting there. And I go back to that prima donna governor they have. And I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole different political conversation. All right, let's get into our games because I know
All
the
right.
people have been patiently waiting. Actually, it's not games, plural. It's one game because as of today, we only know one matchup. My plan was when I scheduled Monday for me and Doug is we'd have two separate games because the AFC had already been decided what the matchups were, and then we got thrown for a loop when the Buffalo game got canceled on Sunday, and it's going this afternoon. We're recording around 2:20 Eastern time right now, and it's goes in 2 hours. So we're going to look at Green Bay and San Francisco. That's the only matchup that's etched in stone right now. That game will be played at San Francisco. The total is 50.5, which Doug is going to be covering. That game goes Saturday night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. Doug, what do you think about this total 50.5? I'm looking through the numbers here. San Fran hasn't had a total of 50 or more all season long. And Green Bay has only had one total of 50 or more, and that was on Sunday against Dallas. So take it away, my friend.
Yeah, well, the Jordan Love Packers are now on the road averaging 27.6 points per game, okay, which is number 2. Now, granted, they had one extra game in which they scored 48 points, but they were third going into it. So they have been able to score on the road, okay, and I think that certainly plays into it. Now, I have to be honest with you. My first inclination on this one was to think under, okay, in the game. Because I did not have time, Ross. Unfortunately, I apologize. And if I can find it, I will post it. I'll either post it in the comments section or I'll talk about it on Thursday in the video. But I have a recollection in my memory banks that teams that score 40 or more points in a game tend to go on the road, and their next game's on the road. That game goes under. Okay, that's my inclination as to something that I recall. So, anyways, but you know what? Packers offense, Ross, it's just hot. I don't know what else you got to say right now. It's just they're playing extremely well. Their blocking schemes are great. Unless San Francisco can put extreme heat on Jordan Love, that really upsets what they're trying to do. And he's seeing the field so well right now. Okay, I just think that I'm not sure that San Francisco is going to hold them back that much. Okay, because they have so many receivers now to throw the ball to. And if they get anything at all out of Aaron Jones in the running game, which seems to be the table setter here for them, that's Packers are going to get some points. San Francisco, though, let's not overlook the points they can score. Since losing 3 in a row, if you discount their last game of the season when Sam Darnold played, so you have that window there of 8 games, they've averaged 31.6 points per game, okay, in that stretch. So that is really strong. I would not be at all shocked if San Francisco hits the 30-point threshold, because even though the Packers defense is better, this Niners attack is so varied. Okay, they have so many explosive weapons. Okay, even the best defenses, I guess maybe other than Baltimore, I think anybody else has a tough time containing them. Packers come into this one, Ross, 8-2 over on the road this year, and they're 8-0 over off an upset winners and underdogs. So my call is going to be over the 50.5 in Santa Clara on this contest.
I wholeheartedly agree. Okay, so we're not going to disagree this week. You look Green Bay. You said what their numbers were on the road. They've gone 6-0 to the over in their last 6 on the road. Yep. Those games average a combined 54.2 points per game. San Francisco, like I said, this is their first. Here's the thing with me. You know the way I think. I'm going to think like an odds maker. And I always tell people the first step you should be in being a successful sports bettor or sports handicapper is to think like an odds maker. Okay. San Francisco, no totals of 50 all year. Green Bay, only one total of 50 or more all year, like I alluded to earlier. That was yesterday's game against Dallas. Yet here we are at playoff time, at playoff time when things usually tighten up a bit. And we're talking about a total of 50 and a half. I just think they're begging you to take the under here. And I think you're right, Doug. I think this is one of those games that we're going to see. Both teams have a lot of offensive production. It's just a matter of is Green Bay going to be able to stay inside the number? And I'm going to cover that in a second. But I agree with you. I like the over 50 and a half at this particular juncture in time. Now, I haven't pulled the trigger on it. Remember, folks, we are recording on Monday, the 15th. The game does not take place to Saturday evening, the 20th. So a lot could happen between now and then. Usually when we give out a pick, even though it's that early, we'll either use that pick or stay away from it. We'll never go the opposite way. And if we do, I'm going to question anybody who does that, and they probably aren't going to be on the channel long. So there you have it. All right, let me look at the side, Doug. And you brought up some stuff that I had looked at myself, and it was applicable to the side as well. I mean, let's start with this. Since the 2011 NFL postseason, home favorites of 10 to 13 and a half points have gone 10-0 straight up and against the spread. And the average line in those games was 11.4. And those double-digit home favorite, well, actually, I shouldn't just say double-digit home favorites, but that parameter of minus 10 to minus 13 and a half, those teams won by 18.3 points per game. So they won pretty decisively. And I'm going to give you a tip here. This applies to the Buffalo-Pittsburgh game now because Buffalo's up to minus 10. So just a NFL playoff betting angle doesn't mean it's a lock, but it shows the history of teams within a point spread parameter and how they perform at this time of year. And usually when the bookmakers make a line this big, especially in recent times, they've been correct. I think, you look at the bettor's mentality. And I spoke about this time and time again over the years right here on this channel. Sports bettors they have a memory. There's no two ways about it, but it's usually short. And what I mean by that, it's not meant disrespectfully toward anybody. It's just sports bettors who don't do this for a livelihood or don't do it on a daily basis tend to remember what they just saw recently and get carried away by what they just witnessed. Green Bay being a perfect example. Like I alluded to, they won 48-32 yesterday, but if you look at the way they played an absolutely flawless game, executed at an extremely high level. A couple of guys had career days in a playoff game beside not career playoff games, but career games in their career, in their entire career. So a lot of things went right yesterday for Green Bay, and more power to them because they played extremely well. But, you look at the line, and they were 7.5 yesterday at Dallas. That was a Dallas team that won 16 games in a row at home. And they were a 7.5 point dog, and they blew them out. So what do the odds makers do? They open this line at 10. They're undeterred by what they saw. And I'm looking at the early action here, and sure enough, there is a ton of action that's gone down early in both the volume of bets and the money bet on the Packers at plus 10. But we've seen no early movement. As a matter of fact, there's some openers at 9.5 that move to 10. Now, remember this too. San Francisco earned a bye week last week because they're the number one seed in the NFL or NFC, excuse me. Green Bay, on the other hand, they're going to be playing not only with no rest, but one less day of rest because they played on Sunday and now they're going to be playing on Saturday night against a team that was home resting last week. San Francisco, by the way, in their last 5, with when Brock Purdy is their starting quarterback, and remember he was out for a while, a couple games with an injury, and then he sat for the regular season finale against the Rams, in which they lost 21-20. But his last 5 starts at quarterback, the San Francisco 49ers are averaging 32 points and 433.8 yards per game of total offense. I just think this is a game where we're not going to see Green Bay play at the level they played yesterday in terms of execution. They're going to be playing a much tougher opponent, in my opinion. When I say tougher, I'm talking from a physicality standpoint and a mental standpoint, and against a much better head coach in Shanahan than Mike McCarthy. I'm going to lay the points here, -10. I know I'm going to be on an island right now in terms of that thought process. We'll see how the rest of the week develops in terms of how these splits go with money and volume of bets. But I just think San Francisco right here is going to win this game and win this game handily. I'm going to lay the 10 with San Francisco against Green Bay, and bring it on, folks, because I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me in the comments section, and that's okay. Maybe even Doug's going to disagree with me because he's been a loyal Green Bay fan for many yeyears, but he doesn't let that get in the way. So,
No,
Doug, tell me what you
no,
think.
I definitely will not. And in this particular case, many of the points that you mentioned are things I think of. I think the short week matters for the Packers, not so much in terms of preparation, but it's not only the short week, but then facing a team that's extremely rested and then also anxious to play. Okay, because
and physical.
Yeah, and very physical. And that's a big thing, and that I think will matter throughout the game, because if Green Bay isn't quite as mentally sharp as they just were, if somebody starts leaning on you right away, okay, kind of like what the Packers did to Dallas, it gets to you, and it gets to you quickly. Okay, from that standpoint. So I agree with you on the 10. I'm a little less inclined on this, though. I will agree with your pick, but I actually have something I like better, and it goes along with something that you said earlier, is about the odds makers. I was curious enough because we've seen in the playoffs many times a team off a bye, not every time, but often gets off to a hot start. Okay, in a game. Okay, they take the ball, they go down the field. Okay, score a touchdown, sets the tone right from there, and ends up having let's just say a significant enough lead at the end of the first quarter. Well, with the number at 10 on this one, the typical line then would be San Francisco -5.5 for the first half. Well, guess what? Right now it's 6.5. So what is that? Yeah. So that's to Ross's point. The odds makers telling us something, and basically what I just said, that they're believing they're likely to get off to a fast start. Also, keep in mind, the Packers are 7-18 against the first half line after playing in a game in which the total number of points in their previous contest was 70 or higher. So I'm going to agree with Ross, but my official play here is going to be to take San Francisco minus the 7.5 on the first half line.
6.5. Yes.
6.5. Sorry,
6.5.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, that's an interesting observation and a very good point, Doug. And yeah, here's the thing too. I mean, if you like San Fran -6.5 in the first half, which makes a lot of sense to me for all the reasons Doug just specified, how is Green Bay going to react when they get behind a touchdown or by a double-digit margin early? Yep. Because now that takes on a whole different animal as what they did. They were front runners the whole game last week. And to me, again, for this part, people lose sight of. I just think that San Francisco, with their past successes in the postseason under Shanahan, as opposed to the struggles that Dallas has had, especially under Mike McCarthy and prior regimes too, in the playoffs in recent years. I just think they're taking on a much tougher team in terms of mentally and, like we alluded to, physically. I just think that Dallas showed how mentally fragile they were and also how soft they were yesterday. They just didn't know how to respond. And I don't think that's going to be the case here. So our official picks, I like San Francisco minus the 10. Doug likes the game to go over 50.5. I also agree with Doug on his 50.5. And Doug adds one step further. He agrees with me on the minus 10, but he really likes, especially, is San Francisco minus the 6.5 in the first half against Green Bay. Great job, my friend, as always. And, folks, Doug's over at DocSports.com right now. Like I said, it's 2:35 on Monday. And we got a treat. We got 2 playoff games on a Monday, one of which goes in a couple hours. So if you see this in time, I got both games up for sale right now. I got the winning side in Buffalo and Pittsburgh, and I already gave you an angle on that. It's going to fit exactly what I did. So you're getting a gift if you saw that from me. And then also I have the winning total in the Tampa Bay and Eagles game at 8:15. Doug, tell the folks what you got going on.
Well, as it turns out, Ross, I also have a couple of things going today. I have a prop bet going in the first game with Buffalo and Pittsburgh, and that's available at my page right now. It's a 4-unit top play. I hit a 5-unit play on Saturday, just missed the 6-unit play yesterday, but I'm still 13-5 since late November, 72.2% on NFL prop play. So looking to deliver again. And then on Monday, I have the side, on the Monday night game. And my current run, as I mentioned, I hit the Chiefs and I hit the Rams. So right now, the last 2 weeks, I'm running 5-0, in the NFL, looking for a consecutive 3-0 sweep. So that would be ideal. Hope to deliver it when I talk to you on Thursday from that standpoint. So happy with that. NHL continues to do well, 21-12. Recent NHL picks. So looking to continue to ride that streak. And in the NBA, starting to make a little bit of a move here. 5-2 the last few days. Looking at things a little bit different. Had a lousy Saturday in college basketball. So had a couple winning days before. Had a winning day on Sunday. Saturday abysmal. Look to bounce back from that and get something going. And actually, to be honest with you, Russ, making a couple of changes in college basketball in terms of how I'm doing things and seeing if I get this. Just hasn't been up to the standards that I had put together previously, and I'm just frustrated by it. So I'm making changes right now as we speak and looking to get the right answers and to get at the level that you have been for some time now in college basketball.
Yeah, college basketball has been good to me this year. I was 3-3 on Saturday. I had gone 0-4 before that, so I've been in a little bit of a snag, and I lost yesterday. I had the Stanford game over 156, and it fell on 152. So I had a little bit of a snag recently in college basketball, but since the beginning of the year, we're winning money, and I plan on going on a nice roll throughout the entirety of the rest of the season. And, here's the big thing with me. My football picks, by the way, folks, 121-91 since September the 14th of this past year. That's good for 57%. You'll say, what's so special about that? Well, my $1,000 game bettors have made $19,240 during that time. Even if you're a $100 game better, you made $1,924 or $24 during that time. Nickel bettors made whatever 19,240 divided by 2 is. In quick math, $9,630. Okay. Since August the 4th, all sports, 248 and 190. It's good for 57% as well. And my dime bettors during that course of time, $37,600 in the black. That's a net profit. So again, folks, if you're looking for somebody who's going to make you money long-term, Doug's number one. I'm also number 1A, I guess, if I want to label myself as such. And invest into our subscription plans, the 3-day, 7-day, 30-day over at gamblersworld.net. And same thing with Doug over at DocSports.com. Doug, there's a like button. Tell the folks what they should do with that like button.
As you taught me from someone that has been on the show, all you got hit it once, not multiple times, hit it once, and you are good to go. Okay. And we really appreciate it when you do that. And if you just do it once, we like it even more.
I love Chip Chirimbus. He hasn't been with us for a while now because of health issues. We hope he's doing better and we hope he recovers well and he gets back on his show. But funny story, in accordance with Doug just said, Chip said, hit that like button. If you really like it, hit it twice. Well, if you hit it twice, it'll come up not a like. So just hit it once, folks. You could hit it soft. You could smash it like Jesse wants you to do. In any event, it's a small token of the appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put in to bringing you a quality podcast 6 times a week right here on our great channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will be back tomorrow. That will be Tuesday the 16th in the morning with Jesse and Sean. We'll be doing college basketball. In the afternoon, I'll be with Paul Bovey. We'll be covering a couple of the weekend NFL playoff matchups and giving you some free advice in that regard. And again, folks, don't forget to hit that like button because we want to make you a smarter sports better today than you were yesterday. And that's been our theme from the get-go, and it will continue to be going forward. Take care and God bless, folks.